What if I told you that the most toxic relationship you'll ever have isn't with a narcissistic ex, a manipulative friend, or a demanding boss, but with yourself? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Books channel. Today, we're diving deep into a book that completely changed my perspective on self-worth, boundaries, and what it truly means to love yourself. We're talking about Self-Love is Power, by the incredible therapist and author who's helped millions break free from cycles of self-destruction. Before we jump in, if you've ever felt like you're not good enough, if you've constantly sought validation from others, or if you've sacrificed your own happiness to please everyone around you, this video is for you. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why self-love isn't just some fluffy concept. It's the most radical act of rebellion you can commit in a world that profits from your self-doubt. Hit that like button if you're ready to take your power back, and let's get started. 1. The wake-up call. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was 32, had a great job, amazing friends, and from the outside, her life looked perfect. But every night, she'd lay in bed scrolling through social media, comparing herself to everyone else, feeling this gnawing emptiness inside. She'd jump from relationship to relationship, each time thinking, this person will complete me. She said yes to every request at work, even when she was drowning in tasks. She bent over backwards for friends who barely texted her back. And the worst part? She felt guilty for even thinking she deserved better. Sound familiar? This is where Self-Love is Power begins, with the brutal truth that most of us have been conditioned to abandon ourselves. The author explains that from childhood, we're taught to earn love through achievement, appearance, and people-pleasing. We learn that our worth is conditional. Here's the first major revelation from the book. Self-love isn't selfish, it's survival. The author makes a powerful distinction here. Self-love isn't about bubble baths and positive affirmations, though those can be nice. It's about the fierce commitment to honoring your own needs, setting boundaries, and refusing to betray yourself for temporary approval. Think about it, you'd never let someone talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself in your own head. You'd never encourage your child to stay in a relationship that drains them. Yet you stay in situations that slowly kill your spirit. The book asks a simple but devastating question: if you're not on your own side, who will be? 2. The self-love deficit. Now, let's go deeper. The author introduces this concept of the self-love deficit, and this hit me like a ton of bricks. She explains that most of us are operating from a deficit. We're running on empty, constantly seeking external validation because we have no internal reservoir of self-worth. It's like trying to pour from an empty cup, except you're not even aware the cup is empty. The book outlines 4 critical signs that you're in a self-love deficit. First, chronic people-pleasing. You say yes when you mean no. You sacrifice your time, energy, and values to avoid conflict or rejection. You've become a master at reading rooms and morphing into whoever people need you to be, except yourself. Second, comparison addiction. You measure your worth against others' highlight reels. Someone else's success feels like your failure. You can't celebrate your wins because they never feel like enough. Third, toxic tolerance. You accept treatment from others that you'd never tolerate for someone you love. You've normalized disrespect, inconsistency, and emotional unavailability because you've convinced yourself that's all you deserve. Fourth, self-abandonment. This is the big one. You've disconnected from your own feelings, needs, and desires. You don't even know what you want anymore because you've spent so long prioritizing everyone else. The author shares a story from her therapy practice about a woman who came in completely burnt out. When asked, "What do you need right now?" the woman broke down crying because she genuinely couldn't answer. She'd spent 40 years asking everyone else what they needed but had never once checked in with herself. That's the cost of the self-love deficit. You become a stranger to yourself. 3. The power of boundaries. So here's where the book gets really practical and, honestly, a little uncomfortable. Because knowing you need self-love is one thing, actually practicing it requires something most people are terrified of: boundaries. The author drops this truth bomb: boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. Read that again. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out, they're the foundation that allows authentic connection. Without boundaries, relationships become transactions where someone always loses, and spoiler alert, it's usually you. The book teaches that boundaries have 3 essential components: clarity. You must get crystal clear on what's acceptable and what's not. Not what society says, not what your parents programmed into you, what you genuinely need to feel safe, respected, and valued. Communication. You have to voice your boundaries clearly and without apology. Notice I said, without apology. You don't need to justify your boundaries with a dissertation. No is a complete sentence. Consistency. This is where most people fail. You set a boundary, someone pushes back, you feel guilty, and you cave. The author emphasizes that boundaries without enforcement are just suggestions. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. There's this powerful example in the book about a woman who kept lending money to her brother. Every time he'd promised to pay her back. Every time he didn't. She'd feel resentful, he'd make excuses, and the cycle continued. Finally, she set a boundary: I love you, but I won't be lending money anymore. It's damaging our relationship. He got angry. Called her selfish. Gave her the silent treatment, and here's what the author teaches: his reaction to your boundary is not your responsibility. She maintained her boundary, and over time, their relationship actually improved because it was no longer built on resentment and unspoken expectations. 4. Reparenting Yourself. Now we get to one of the most healing parts of the book, the concept of reparenting yourself. The author explains that many of us didn't receive the unconditional love and acceptance we needed as children. Maybe your parents were emotionally unavailable, overly critical, or dealing with their own trauma. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. When we don't receive that secure foundation, we develop coping mechanisms. We become overachievers trying to earn love. We become chameleons changing to fit in. We become fixers trying to heal others to avoid healing ourselves. The book outlines a beautiful process of becoming the parent to yourself that you needed. Talk to yourself like you would a child you love. When you make a mistake, would you berate a 5-year-old the way you berate yourself? The critical inner voice isn't motivating you, it's traumatizing you. Validate your own feelings. Stop waiting for others to tell you your feelings are valid. If you feel it, it's real. You don't need permission to feel hurt, angry, or disappointed. Meet your own needs. This is revolutionary. Instead of constantly seeking someone else to make you feel safe, loved, and valued, you become that person for yourself. The author shares this exercise: write a letter to your younger self. Tell them everything they needed to hear but didn't. Thank them for surviving. Apologize for the ways you've continued the criticism they received. When people do this exercise, she says, they often sob, because they realize they've been abandoning their inner child the same way others did. Reparenting is about finally showing up for yourself with compassion, consistency, and unconditional acceptance. 5. The truth about relationships. Here's something the book says that might upset some people: you can't love someone else more than you love yourself, at least not in a healthy way. When you don't love yourself, your relationships become need-based rather than love-based. You're not choosing someone, you're clutching them like a life raft. That's not intimacy, it's desperation. The book revolutionizes how we think about relationships with these truths: you attract what you believe you deserve. If you don't value yourself, you'll accept crumbs and call it a feast. You'll stay in situations that slowly erode your soul because you've convinced yourself this is the best you can get. Healthy relationships have space. When you love yourself, you don't lose yourself in another person. You maintain your identity, interests, and boundaries. You're two whole people choosing to walk together, not two halves trying to complete each other. The right people won't make you beg. This one's crucial. The author says if someone truly values you, you won't have to convince them of your worth. You won't have to perform, shrink, or contort yourself to earn their love. There's a section where the author talks about a client who kept attracting emotionally unavailable partners. Through therapy, they discovered she was emotionally unavailable to herself. She ignored her own needs, dismissed her feelings, and constantly abandoned herself. Once she started showing up for herself, honoring her feelings, setting boundaries, building a life she loved, suddenly the emotionally unavailable people weren't attractive anymore. She'd raised her standards for herself, which automatically raised her standards for others. The book makes it clear: self-love doesn't repel people, it repels the wrong people. 6. Practical steps to power. Alright, so we've covered the philosophy, the psychology, the transformations. Now let's get practical. How do you actually build self-love in a world designed to make you doubt yourself? The book offers 7 non-negotiable practices. 1. Start your day with intention, not reaction. Don't grab your phone and immediately compare yourself to others. Take 5 minutes to check in with yourself. How do you feel? What do you need today? 2. Practice fierce self-honesty. Stop lying to yourself about what you want, what you feel, and what you need. The author says self-deception is self-betrayal. 3. Set 1 boundary per day. Start small. Say no to one thing that doesn't serve you. Don't over-explain. Don't apologize. Just decline. 4. Celebrate your wins. We're so quick to note our failures but dismiss our successes. Write down 3 things you did well today, no matter how small. 5. Move your body. Not to punish yourself or earn food, but to honor the miracle that is your body. Movement is medicine. 6. Curate your environment. The book emphasizes that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are those people lifting you up or dragging you down? Your environment includes social media. Unfollow anything that makes you feel less than. 7. Create non-negotiables. These are things you do for yourself no matter what. Maybe it's 8 hours of sleep, or 30 minutes alone, or therapy every week. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. The author promises this: if you commit to these practices for 90 days, your life will be unrecognizable. Not because your circumstances changed, but because you changed. You'll have become someone who values themselves enough to create the life they deserve. So let's circle back to Sarah from the beginning. After reading this book and implementing these principles, here's what changed: she didn't suddenly become perfect. She still had hard days. But she stopped abandoning herself on those days. She set boundaries at work and lost some colleagues who only valued her compliance. She ended a relationship that was comfortable but unfulfilling. She started therapy. She built a life she didn't need to escape from, and most importantly, she stopped waiting for someone else to save her, because she realized she was the hero of her own story all along. Self-love is power isn't just a book title, it's a revolutionary act. In a world that profits from your self-hatred, choosing to love yourself is rebellion. In a culture that tells you to shrink, choosing to take up space is courage. In a society that rewards your compliance, choosing your own path is freedom. You deserve more than crumbs. You deserve more than conditional love. You deserve more than a life spent seeking approval from people who barely know themselves. Self-love isn't the destination, it's the journey. And it starts with one simple decision. Today, I choose me. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment and tell me which insight hit you the hardest. Have you read this book? What was your biggest takeaway? And if you're just starting your self-love journey, I want you to know, you're not broken. You don't need fixing. You need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Hit that subscribe button if you want more content on personal growth, healing, and becoming the most authentic version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are worthy, you are enough, and self-love is your superpower. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, choose yourself.